Well, a year ago, Peter Robinson said the Stormont system wasn't fit for purpose, and many others agree that our devolved institutions have become dysfunctional. The stalled Stormont House agreement made provisions for an official opposition, but a private member's bill, which was tabled at Stormont this week, is going further, proposing major changes to how the Assembly and Executive work. Our political correspondent, Chris Page, reports.
Right. Fine. Set.
Politicians know they're in a contact sport and it can be a bruising business. But people would say that government should be about teamwork, about discipline, about unity in the face of challenges. Instead, ministers here often tackle members of their own team, other ministers. So one MLA has made a proposal to change the rules of the game. John McCallister believes his Assembly and Executive Reform Bill hits the mark as far as spectators are concerned.
I think the public mood out there desperately want to see this place working, being functional, being about evidence-based policy making, being about discussions, being about choice, the ability to change your government is a fundamental right in a democracy. All of those things, but it's about making this place functional and work to deliver for the people of Northern Ireland.
So he wants a formal Assembly opposition. The idea is this: if there's no opposing side, the team in charge can coast. Not much skill is demanded. But if there's an opposition, the players have to raise their game. Organisation, strategy and resolve are required to get things over the line.
Minister. Well, as I mentioned before the first question, there will...
So under Mr McCallister's proposals, First Minister's question time in the Assembly would work a bit more like Prime Minister's questions at Westminster. There'd be a leader and deputy leader of the opposition. They would get the first topical questions to the leaders of the executive.
Mr Speaker.
At least 15 days a year would be set aside for opposition business. And smaller parties could have a bigger say. In the Dáil, independents have signed up to a technical group in order to get better speaking rights. The Stormont Bill proposes a similar system here. 6 or more MLAs could form a group. They'd be represented on the committee, which decides Assembly business. This academic, who's compared institutions, says having an opposition would make more sense to voters.
The government and opposition model is one that's very familiar to everybody on these islands because, after all, it is a Westminster-style parliamentary democracy. And that clearly sets out who is in power, who is not in power, and the ones that are not in power are usually those that are waiting to take power, or at least hoping to compete to take power. I think that allows people to clearly distinguish between parties, between political platforms.
Our nearest neighbour, in terms of devolved parliaments, has a shadow cabinet. But one member says the Scottish way of holding power to account has flaws.
A key thing for me is for committee members to almost take off their party hat when they go into committee, and that's an issue that has almost dogged us, because with the involvement of a majority government, it happens more often that government members of committees will toe the party line and won't fully scrutinise the government.
Besides opposition, John McCallister's bill has other important measures. It would abolish community designation, the system by which MLAs must register as unionist, nationalist or other. Petitions of concern, which trigger a cross-community vote, would be replaced by another mechanism. 30 signatures from 3 parties would be needed to require a weighted majority. 60% would be the threshold for success. Parties would negotiate to go into the executive on the basis of an agreed programme for government. There'd be a new rule for ministers. Collective cabinet responsibility would be written into the ministerial code. That's designed to stop sniping. And there wouldn't be a deputy first minister. Instead, there'd be 2 first ministers. So what chance does the bill have of succeeding?
The indication certainly would be from many of the parties there is much in the bill that they can sign up to. I know that some parties will be more comfortable than others about changing the petition of concern and limiting the way you can use it and needing to get a broader support before that triggers. I know some will be concerned about moving to a weighted majority vote, but that is all up for debate, and I think the bill, to me, has been like a carefully put together package of something that I truly believe will work and deliver a much more functional Assembly and Executive.
So the bill's champion believes it would give Stormont the lift and that governing parties wouldn't take each other down. But there's likely to be a lot of wrangling and pushing back and forth during the debate.